Us for this press conference and kickoff to announce the march to Washington, D.C. That's the big gist of what we are doing. Of course, on January the 14th, there will be a march taking place here in Baltimore City. It's themed Jobs and Justice. And our gist in terms of jobs and justice, we think of jobs and justice. We think of the issues that are taking place here in this city and probably in other parts of the country, which is why we're so glad to have Occupy here, because Occupy, one of the things that you all are doing is you all are doing public demonstrations based upon some of the needs of specific jurisdictions across the country. And very similarly, that is why we are here today. There's a tremendous issue of unemployment in Baltimore City, a tremendous issue of unemployment. 50% of African American males are unemployed in Baltimore City. That is a crisis, and it's a crisis that not only affects African American men, but it's a crisis that affects families as well. Brian Easley, who is scheduled to be here tonight, when I talked with him about what we were doing and his inclusion as an ex-offender, one of the things he spoke about was how he was an ex-offender, fell upon some hard times years ago, a generation ago, if you will, and made some bad choices. He's been suffering from those bad choices ever since. Brian has gone on, as a result of his political activism, to actually work for a legislator in Annapolis. But as soon as that legislator's term in office was over, he was no longer able to get employed because of the barriers that exist for ex-offenders. And so ex-offenders are just a small segment of why we're doing what we're doing, because just like ex-offenders are disproportionately targeted, our young people are. What we find is every time there's a budget shortfall in this city and in other urban cities across this country, we find that young people, oftentimes, programs that affect them are considered to be pork and things of that particular nature, and they slash it from the budget. We know it's not so much about what the city has in terms of resources. We know it's about priorities. And so we're standing up in this march to stand up for those young people so that they can have summer jobs, and not just summer jobs, but after school jobs. Because we recognize that these jobs for young people, at one point in time, it was to purchase school supplies and to purchase clothes for the school year, but we know now they're subsidizing the household bills. These young people are helping to contribute to the backed up enormously increasing costs for BG&E, and they're helping to pay the rent and the water bill and things of that particular nature. So our young people need summer jobs and they need after school jobs. And we know last year in this city, this mayor didn't prioritize that to be the case. And there were tons and tons and tons of jobs that were cut for young people for summer jobs. So we're saying to the mayor, we're saying to the governor, we're saying even to the president, which is why we are marching to Washington. We're saying to this entire country that our young people are indeed a priority. And of course there's an issue in relationship to unemployment. Unemployment is critical right now. And we have a situation whereas potentially at the end of the year, of course, unemployment benefits could potentially be cut. And so we want to send a clear and distinctive message. There are many people in this room who were with us last year when we had to send the same message to this same Washington and to this same Congress that the people expect to be treated with dignity and with respect. And we expect for our congressional representatives that are in office. Some of us voted for them, some of us didn't vote for them, but nevertheless they are charged to represent the people. And they are falling short in their responsibility. So we want to say to this Congress, we want to say to this General Assembly in Annapolis, we want to say to this City Council and City Hall that we expect for them to look out for the interest of the people. And so this march again will start at the historic Union Baptist Church, which is indeed historic for Baltimore history. It is the home actually of the NAACP, Doc, am I correct? It's where the NAACP was founded, and it currently hosts its meetings there currently. It has a tremendous level of history. Its former pastor, the Reverend Vernon Dobson, was a member of the Goon Squad, which is infamously known in history for the work that it did during the Civil Rights Movement. Also literally being a local leg to the national movement and having contacts with Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., during his movement and a host of different other tremendous leaders. So Union Baptist Church is where we will start the first leg of the march. and from there we will go to downtown Baltimore to Reach Drugstore. And the reason why we're going to Reach Drugstore is because of the historical significance that that particular entity has. I don't know if Dr. Hicks knew that we were going to Reach Drugstore, but we are going there. And it is significant that Dr. Hicks is there, because Dr. Hicks is one of the persons that led integration efforts to integrate Reach Drugstore in 1955. And I think that's deserving of a round of applause. Those demonstrations that took place in Reach Drugstore were a symbol of hope for the entire state and even parts of the country. Baltimore has a hidden historic civil rights legacy, and I'm stealing a part of Doc Cheatham's presentation, because whenever he and I talk, we talk so much about how much Baltimore means to the national movement. And we're hoping that in the days and weeks to come, that one of the things that will come out of this march is that we begin to preserve our legacy. And even as we look at things that are happening around our country right now with Occupy, it's important for us to know about Dr. Helena Hicks. It's important for us to know about a Walter Dean, who's scheduled to be here tonight as well, because he was one of the persons that helped to create a foundation here in Baltimore locally and had an impact nationally. So I want to sit down and I want to present to some and introduce to others the current president of the National Action Network, Marvin Doc Cheatham Sr. Thank you.
I want to thank CD and Karen for putting this together. I'm excited. I'm excited about the possibility of re-energizing a city, from my vantage point, that is second to no city in the country. When you look at litigation, legislation, and leaders in the area of civil rights and human rights, second to no city. But we've fallen asleep. Very sadly, we're falling asleep. Our communities are suffering, especially here in Baltimore City. So I'm excited. I'm real excited about seeing some new folks, some new ideas, some new energy, so some of us older folks can sit down and kind of help mentor and give support. So I'm excited. I just want to say thank you. And I'm going to be very brief, so brief that I can now sit down.
I want to say first and foremost, I think this is a very powerful thing. I'm really happy.
Can you give your name, sir?
My name is Asher Strauss. Represent Occupy Baltimore, Save Our Schools, movements worldwide. So I'm here with Athena.
Athena Jacko, sorry. It's sort of my Aaron to my Moses. So.
Well, hopefully we can all part the seas in this march. But I'd written a little something. I was expecting to be speaking at the march itself, so I wasn't actually, just gonna freestyle or whatever. But with Occupy, we identify with a statistic of 99%. We understand that there's a few at the top, namely a handful of families that control all the wealth, make all the money that is then divided and makes us divided against each other. Mm-hmm. But we all understand that we will always be a part of the whole. We will always be 100% together. We're all Pangean humans. But social equality has never and will never work in this system because it thrives off of the division, the dumbification, the enslavement, the oppression, and thereby it creates race while trying to, at the same time, erase culture. The only kind of equality that this system has seen is in how it has attacked both peaceful and those deemed militant in the struggle for our freedom. We the people, hungry for peace, truth, and justice, have always had the same demand. And now what we knew as COINTELPRO has gone global and public. We pick up traction in our movement no matter how we can, in any way that we can. We see struggles coming on all across the world. They try to hide it from us, but we won't, we won't be hidden in the shade, and our light will shine through no matter what. And so I just hope that we keep this fire burning. We understand, we learn our history, we learn where the money comes from, we learn how to progress. The strongest thing is to understand ourselves. Dr. Martin Luther King said that justice is indivisible, any threat to justice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
That's right.
You know, the system doesn't see it broken apart like that. It attacks us all equally. And if one side is attacked, we understand that we are all under attack. If a community of youth is in jail for the crimes of trying to survive in this system, we are all in jail. We are all locked up.
Right.
And so until we come together, until we make our voices heard, it will be in the same path of destruction. And so what I see is that this is a beautiful movement, and we have people coming together all across the world now, all across this city. Different movements are coming together, starting to unite and starting to really make progress. So I'm excited to be there with everybody here on Saturday and see the transition of this new age and this new era into a real equality, into a real freedom amongst ourselves in the self-determined communities. Thank you.
I don't want to be too formal in what I say, and most of what I wanted to talk about is to give folks a logistical sense of some of the things that we're doing on that day and why we're doing them. And I was actually inspired by R.B. Jones, who's a longtime poet and activist in Baltimore City, because he asked us some pointed questions. And Brother Lawrence Bell, who had us on an earlier show today on radio. So I wanted to sort of, I guess what you want to call, justify what we're doing or explain it. But first I wanted to begin by saying a lot of what we're doing on this weekend has been as a result of two things. The inspiration that the Occupy movement, rather, has given to people all across the country. But while I'm saying that, I also don't want to sideline or take away from the veterans that are here in the struggle,
Right.
who have also been doing things in this city for years and years. I named two of them already, but there's tons of them. I see Abdul sitting here from the Eugene the People's Progress Party. I see Stephen Cece in the back, and Andre Powell, and Ron Kipling Williams, lots of folks, so I don't want to leave anybody out. Doc Cheatham, of course, and Lawrence Bell. But I'm saying that because Dr. Hicks, in some ways, has really been our greatest inspiration, and I think maybe in some ways is the pivotal point to pull us together in a way. I've seen her at plenty of rallies and have a lot of respect for her, but I watched her on a video, and she was talking about, in such a simple way, why the Morgan State University students did what they did in 1955 at Reed's Drugstore. That they were simply fed up, disgusted, and sick and tired of literally being refused to be able to sit down at a counter and be served. And it was like the courage of these students and the anger of being sick and tired of this stuff. And I think it kind of reflects on how we feel right now. People are sick and tired of the same kind of conditions, only they're economic and they're different. When you have, as CD was talking about, over 50% of black youth do not have jobs in this city. I was just reading, we just looked on the thing, we were doing some research on the jobless statistics, and there's a recent study that ABC News came out with. It came from Scoop Daily, and it says that we are one of the 5 worst cities in this country in terms of how youth are treated. I think Chicago is the top one, Atlanta, Detroit, Baltimore, and then Cleveland. What do all 5 of these cities have in common? They're all African-American cities, majority African-American cities.
right.
So the civil rights struggle and the struggle for economic justice is very much linked together. You can't separate the two.
That's right.
So, on the logistical part, Brother CD mentioned we are starting at Union Baptist Church. We are marching through a neighborhood where, and see, you need to know this because you'll be very angry. The state was supposed to give 800 jobs through the State Center City Project
right.
to people who lived in that community. I was there when there were about 1,000 of us marching in the street for jobs. And 800 workers signed dotted lines with LIUNA, the union, thinking they were going to get jobs, and the state had made this promise, and they reneged on it. Doc remembers this too. We are marching through that community, and we're going to be going door to door prior to that to arouse people and hopefully get them to join the Baltimore leg of the march. But even if we can't do that, we're going to let them know that they have not been forgotten, that there are people, organizers in this city who will stand up for their rights.
That's right.
So that's why we're marching through that community. People have already done an excellent job of explaining why we're going to be at Reed's Drugstore, because they're not going to tear that place down if we have to occupy it. They will not tear Reed's down. It is a historical site,
That's right.
and I don't care who it is, how high they are, how much money they have, whether it's the mayor, I don't care who it is, they will not tear it down. Do I have a witness on that? Do I have a second on that?
That's right.
Will we occupy that? We will not let them tear Reed's Drugstore down by any means necessary. That's not going to happen. So we'll be there. From there, we are walking to DC. Oh yeah, we're crazy. I'm crazy. I'm 62 years old. I'm going to say that now. But I'm going to walk to DC. I'm not, if I fall down, there's going to be cars there. And I think, really, there'll be cars for some people if you can't make it. And if you just want to be there and be in a car and witness it, you should be in a car. Because we need all sorts of help. All sorts of logistical help, from food, water, just being there so that, when Sharon Black drops, you can pick me up. So please be there. We're not expecting hundreds of people to make that long walk to Washington, D.C. But we will have national news media with us. We will have representatives nationally who can document it. We want to revive what the civil rights movement did in terms of the walks.
Right.
You have to walk before you run. Of course, we want to run. And you have to crawl before you can stand up.
That's
but we
right.
intend to do that because we are sick and tired the way that Dr. Hicks was sick and tired. So we're walking to DC to demand a Works Progress Administration type of jobs program, one that can put everybody back to work. They can spend trillions of dollars to bail out banks, trillions. They can spend millions and millions of dollars to oppress workers all across the world in forms of occupations, in the forms of war. And if they can spend that money on war and occupation, racism, and bailing out rich CEOs, that 1%, then they can certainly afford to have a WPA-style works program that is controlled by the workers and that is free of some of the blatant discrimination that went on in the 30s and 40s when they had it. In other words, we're not going to have women being paid half the amount of men, or people that are Black or Latino being oppressed or being treated badly. So we're going to make those demands because we think the system is a national system, so we have some national demands and we have some local focuses. I'm going to end with this, because we're going to break down to make the real decisions about walking. That's going to take some really tight togetherness, and we're going to have GAs in the morning and in the evening to figure out everything. But we expect that this is not going to end. I make a personal vow, this will not end. This is not just a march, a one-time march to Washington, D.C. When we come back, we want to tackle the issues that CD mentioned. And we hope that whoever's involved in this protest will stay involved, because we have to demand amnesty for people who get jailed. It's a racist, unjust, injustice system. People get stuck, and it's classist, and they get stuck in jail for no other reasons that they're either poor, working class, or Black, or Latino, or Asian, or Native. That's the only reason they end up behind bars. And the fact is, then they get out and they get something on their record. So we want amnesty for people, and we're going to be working with the ex-offenders groups to ensure that. And we want jobs for young people, and we want to link these issues together. So I'm going to shut up, but really I wanted to give the sisters and brothers here an idea that there are concrete reasons of concrete reasons of why we're doing what we're going to do, basically. And we're a little bit nutty going to DC, but we want to link up, because I want to end with this. I forgot this. It's important. On the 17th, there's going to be the Occupy movement has vowed to set up 1 million tents on the mall. I don't know if they'll do it. I don't care if they do 100 tents. I think it would be pretty cool. But we want to stay, those who can, not everybody, but those who can, will stay in Washington, because Congress begins on January the 17th. But there's a lot of other activities, and we don't want to overshadow anybody else's. The big thing is that this is just the beginning and not the ending. Thank you.
Hicks, I'm going to ask if she could possibly stay seated. She just recently had a surgery. However, she wanted to be with us. So I'm going to ask if she could stay seated. But I'm going to ask you to join me in giving her a very welcoming round of applause.
Very, very happy to be with you tonight. I'm happy always to be with people who understand that the job started a long time ago and we still have the same job. We have the job of making people understand that you can't have justice unless you have equal treatment and equal opportunity in all matters, whether they're legal, whether it's the workplace, the job market, social issues. It goes on and on. Equality is the answer. And to tell you, it is colorless, it is ageless, it is sexless. It doesn't matter. People separated, people being the enemy, because it makes it easier to attack. And that we cannot let that happen. We are all victims of the same system that says we can't let you win because you will destroy our money sources. We will not destroy their money sources. We are their money sources.
That's right, Doc.
We are their money sources. In the history, in 1787, I'm sorry, when Baltimore first began, it began over a labor strike. You know how we got to be Baltimore City? Because the people in Baltimore City said to Baltimore County, we are tired of you ripping us off, taking our money, making our decisions, and we have nothing. So in 1787, 2 blocks from Lexington Market, everybody gathered of all colors and nationalities and said, we will not lift a finger. And for 3 days, all that produce from the county farms, all that stuff that came in on the ships from the harbor just lay rotting and being destroyed because it was summer. And that's how we got to be Baltimore City. We said, they said, we'll go back to work if you give us our own ability to govern. And so we got a mayor and we got a city council. That's how we got here. So it doesn't matter. Everybody wants equality. Everybody wants to be in charge of their own destiny. And so we have to stop thinking in these little closed areas about it only applies to me because I'm female, or because I'm young, or because I'm black, or because I'm Latino. It applies clear across the board. And until all of us join hands for equality for everybody, we are not going to make the kind of progress we could make. And we see it every day. We see it in the legislatures. You have to make a solid personal commitment. You say, I will do what I can. I will join hands with my brother, my sister, and work with them on what they want to do. But I have to make my personal commitment. And I was showing CD, I said, I make my personal commitment. I have made it all my life. And at my age, I'm still making it. So Friday morning, I showed him in the Court of Appeals, I will be there suing Baltimore City. Second-class citizens. This is the brief. It's been filed. They do not want it heard. They keep saying it was late. You know, so the clerk waits 5 minutes after 12 to say, before they put the stamp down, to say they'll hear it. I said, I'm going anyway. I want to see them arrest this old gray-haired lady when I get up to speak. I'm going anyway.
Go
I
ahead.
know those judges. I'm going anyway. And my lawyer says, okay, I'm going anyway. And Baltimore Heritage said, we'll go. And Preservation Ron said, we'll go. And any of you who want to come, you're welcome to come.
What time we need to be there?
And the Maryland Court of Appeals at, well, it's good to get there by 9:30. They usually start at 10. Yes, I'm going down there, and I'm saying to them, you know, you can't make these baseless decisions, and everybody suffer. And okay, they talked about it, and I said, you talk about it, I'm going to do something about it. So I found myself a pro bono lawyer, never saw him before, somebody recommended him. He said, I'll take it. His is based on some personal issue with the mayor. I don't care.
That's right. That's
He
right.
prepared the brief, he filed it, and I'm going down there. And until my eyes close, I'm going to continue to do that. If you don't make the personal commitment under the name of equality and justice, then you have only done part of the job that you can do.
That's right.
You know, collectively, you can do a lot. But individually, you can do a lot. I could have gotten people to sign on to this. I said, no, I'm doing it. I'm supporting, you know, the Baltimore City folks who say it can't be this way. I step out. What are they going to do? They can't fire me. I don't work. They can't take away my income. They don't have any control over my income. You know, what can they do to me? Nothing. They get angry. I'm used to that. And there's some other things you can do. I want to see our faces, everybody in this room. I want to see your face everywhere major decisions are made. Everywhere decisions are made. Down at the Board of Estimates, I go down there and they say, you have to sign up to speak. I go down there and I say, the president of the city council chairs the board. I said, I have something to say.
I took a lead. I did it last week.
Reverend Witherspoon, he just stood up from the back and said, I have something to say. And they listen. They're shocked, but they listen. You have to make your presence known. And we can march, that's wonderful, we can do all these things, but you can't just do one or two things. We gotta have a whole list of things.
That's right.
And the things that individuals can do, like Reverend Witherspoon, when I just called him and said, I can't make it, can you go? He said, sure, I'll go. And he just went down there, and people called me and said, who was that man who came down and stood up in the back of the room and disrupted the board meeting? I said, it's a board estimates. It's everybody's money. It's a public meeting. What are you talking about? I come down there and I just say, I have something to say. Let me know when you're ready to hear it. I don't care whether they have an agenda or whatnot. You can't program me. That's what I'm saying. Don't let them program you, because they will program you to stay in that little box where we are now. And so you have to begin to think that way. I am who I am, and they're going to recognize me, they're going to acknowledge me, they're going to listen to what I have to say, and I'm going to make them do something about this problem. They will hear it and hear it and hear it until they get tired of it. My greatest virtue is that I have a lot of good connections with national press. And I tell them all the time, well, when do you want me to call CNN? Are you ready for CNN? Because just let me know, and I'm going to try to call them to get them out there for your march. I'll get them out there. Right. I get them out there. All you need to know is one person. The news media is looking for stuff. They're hungry. They're like the dogs walking up and down the alley looking for a trash can top they can take off. They are looking for news. You get them out there. Get your face in the news. We have to go beyond Baltimore City. Baltimore City exemplifies all of the ugliness that we fought against in order to become the United States of America.
That's right.
And we have to start letting the world know that. We have to start letting the world know that. We have to get the press involved. Believe me, they will follow you everywhere. If they think you are active and you are busy doing things, they'll follow you everywhere. We need to be in the New York Times. We need to be in the Washington Post. We need to be way out in Denver and everywhere. You know people everywhere. You know. When I did CNN, I said, I don't want it local. If it can't be national, I didn't want it. Well, so friends of mine from California called them and said, we saw you on TV. Good. I want everybody to be able to say that. Start doing that. Start making it your personal responsibility to make sure the world hears your cry. And that the cry is for peace and justice for everybody and equality of opportunity for everybody, regardless of age, regardless of color, regardless of condition, the ex-offender who stumbles and doesn't fall sometime. Nobody in life.
That's right.
Your fall may not land you in jail, but you fell just the same. May land you in the hospital, but you fall just the same. You have to heal and mend people.
That's right.
And push them forward into another way of life.
That's right.
That's what we have to do. The more people they can lock up and keep, especially young people, and keep from being involved in the cause, the more winning they will do. I'm saying let them all out. I told them I know enough thieves in public government to take their place. You want people to lock up and feed every night? I can do a whole list. Where you want me to start? You want me to start with Congress? And I know, and Doc Cheatham knows this. A lot of times we'll be sitting around talking. I said, well, let me tell you about so-and-so, what I know about their background. And a lot of them say to me, they're very nice to me because they don't want to tell what I know. It doesn't matter, I'm going to tell it anyway, whether they're nice to me or not. People do not go through this world without making some mistakes.
That's right.
You can make your mistakes, but you can't make me suffer because of your mistakes. If you are stupid enough to be elected mayor and not bright enough to know, you're going to have to pay back all those people who put into your campaign all kinds of ways that may seem despicable. You're going to have to pay the price.
That's right.
You know, and so if you want to be mayor, be prepared for all the fire that comes behind you. You know, the fire comes. And, you know, they want to, I want to get off the board because I know they'd like to put me off, and I just like to go off on my own. But being on CHAP's board, people don't come to that hearing. It drives me nuts where they make all the decisions, what contractors get deals, what streets and neighborhoods get disrupted. They've never had more than 3 African Americans on that board. Haven't had more than 4 women on that board. So now we have 3. I said we have 2.5 because we have one lady who represents Arkansas Terrace area, me and Larry Gibson, and you can tell him because I've said it to his face, he's my half person because he's half with us sometime and Uncle Tom the other part. Wow. And I know he's your friend. But we have to have people who are there and who speak up and said, you know, why does this factory have to go in next door to a school? Just like now, why do you want to put some kind of after-school facility next to a school that's full of people that you haven't run through the system? You have to run them through the system. The protective services law is national. You cannot put children in the care of people who have not cleared the protective services documents. So here you've got all these people going on Winky Dink and whomever they're gonna give contracts to, and if their names are anywhere in the protective services system in this country, by law, they are not eligible to operate those facilities. They're not eligible. Somebody needs to go and file a suit against the mayor. You know, I'm running out of people, lawyers who will do suits for me.
In the process.
Somebody's gotta file a suit against her and say by federal law, you cannot do this. You have to clear every one of these people, and if they have any kind of behavioral activity in their background that resulted in court action, they cannot be in charge of our children. Children have enough problems in those areas. They don't need somebody standing up saying, well, I used to break in houses. I broke into about 10 or 12. Then I got tired and went on to something bigger. What child 8 years old needs to hear that? What child 8 years old needs to talk to somebody who said, well, I pushed drugs for years and I gave it up? I tell them like I tell my next door neighbor, who I say all the time, if I get killed in the middle of the night, he killed me. Because I tell him all the time, people who make money out of drugs don't give it up. You just find a more secretive way of doing it. It's too much money involved. I don't want to hear it. Tell that mess to somebody else. Don't tell me. And if I catch you at it, you're in trouble. No, they don't change their behavior that easily. People change bad behavior because they get caught, and so they have to give it up. So we don't want children exposed to that. We don't want our kids exposed to that. There are many. Why can't our young people in high school take those as after-school jobs? Why can't they go into those centers with those kids and work with them? 16, 17, and 18 years old, they can go in there, they can be mentoring those kids. They can be working in there and earning some extra money. And you said something about them needing cash to help with the family. They could be right in the neighborhood. We don't need Winky Dink down there. Let Winky Dink stay on the street and keep selling these drugs so he gets caught for the last time. You know, but we don't do those things, and it's time we did. And it's every community. It doesn't make any difference. Communities that are supposed to be, quote, good communities have the same problems. But we have to be cognizant of the fact that justice, equal treatment, equal opportunity, and a decent society rest on our shoulders as individuals, just as it does on all of us collectively.